Please come to this wonderful IAS 7 again. Components of cash and cash equivalent. So there is a specific requirement. Component of cash and cash equivalent are presented with a reconciliation of amount in the statement of cash flow with the amount in the SOFP. So in the notes you will give a reconciliation which will first give you what are the components of cash and cash equivalent. So you will write cash in hand, demand investment, or bank account which is demand based, demand deposit. Then you will write whatever items of SOFP you have taken in cash equivalent. If there is a difference between cash flow closing balance and SOFP closing balance, then you will give a reconciliation. So on this we will take a small example which is printed in your notes also. Kindly come to question number 9. An entity has a bank balance in foreign currency aggregating to USD 100 and its equivalent amount is rupees 4,500 at the beginning. Presuming no other transaction taking place, the entity reported a profit before tax of rupees 100 on account of exchange gain on the bank balance in foreign currency at the end of the year. What would be the closing cash and cash equivalent as per SOFP? This is a very simple question. Closing balance in SOFP will be 4,600. But how will you give the presentation in cash flow statement? Assume there is no transaction. If there is no transaction, cash balance in US dollar is a monetary item. Opening balance is 4,500. Closing balance is 4,600. So there is an unrealized gain of 100, which is a non-cash item. So that will appear as a adjustment in your indirect method cash flow statement. Is it right? It's a non-cash item. So if I prepare cash flow statement under indirect method, my profit before tax will be 100. Only one entry we have passed. Cash and cash equivalent account debit to exchange gain account. Exchange gain to P&L account. So profit is showing 100. This is a theoretical question assuming no other transaction so that you can understand the effect only of this item. And then the indirect method says non-cash item will be adjusted. This is a gain credited to P&L account, so less 100, nil, total, investing nil, financing nil, change nil, opening cash and cash equivalent 4,500. Total as per cash flow statement closing balance 4,500. But this figure will not match with your SOFP. So then reconciliation of cash and cash equivalent. This you will write like this: cash and cash equivalent at the beginning as per the statement of cash flow 4,500. Add unrealized gain on cash and cash equivalent 100. And therefore cash and cash equivalent at the end as per SOFP 4,600. Now one different question. Think and answer. A firm invests in a 5-year bond of another company with a face value of rupees 10 lakh. Question number 6. By paying 5 lakh, the effective rate is 15%. The firm recognizes proportionate interest income in its income statement throughout the period of the bond. Based on the above information, answer the following question. How the interest income will be treated in cash flow statement during the period of the bond? How the interest income will be treated in cash flow statement during the period of the bond? Now you see, this is a zero coupon bond. Okay. What is a zero coupon bond? You invest 5 lakh rupees today. After 5 years, you will get 10 lakh. So they are not going to pay you any coupon in cash. The interest is getting accumulated at the rate of 15%, and on maturity it will become 10 lakh. Understood? Which means there is no interest inflow. There is no interest inflow. It is just interest getting accrued, but no inflow of interest. So what is your answer? You will not account for interest received. Okay. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year, on maturity, the receipt of 10 lakh will be split between interest income and receipt from investment activity. So interest income will be treated as income over the period of bond in income statement, because in income statement you will continue to accrue the interest. However, there is no cash inflow in this year because no cash has been received. Then on the maturity you will get 10 lakh rupees, and for presentation purpose, out of 10 lakh, 5 lakh is your repayment of principal and 5 lakh is your interest income. So both will go to investment activity. Next is one paragraph you have to write in the notebook. Acquisition and disposal of property. One paragraph write down. Acquisition and disposal of properties. This is linked with your IAS 16. This is linked with your IAS 16. First we will write down acquisition and disposal of properties. Entities might routinely sell items of property, plant and equipment. Entities might routinely sell items of PPE that have previously held for rentals to others. Okay. That means you are giving some property, like say your car on rent, projector on rent, and then you routinely sell also such items. What about the cash payment or cash receipt in respect of acquisition or disposal of such asset? The standard says they will also be classified as operating activities. The cash payment or receipt in respect of acquisition or disposal of such assets are classified as operating activities. Normally such items are our investment property. Okay. So therefore when you will sell it, it should come in investment activity, but because there is a specific condition here that they are routinely sold and these are used for rentals to other, then you can treat them as operating activities. Is it right? And then there is a disclosure requirement which I have not read. Come to optional disclosure requirement. The amount of undrawn borrowing facility indicating restriction on future use. These are only for disclosures. In case if you have borrowing facility but not yet drawn, Then aggregate amount of cash flow relating to interest in joint venture reported using proportionate consolidation. That line you delete. That proportionate consolidation is not applicable. Point 2, delete. Point 3, cash flow representing increase in operating capacity and those required to maintain the operating capacity. Disclose. Cash flow relating to each reportable segment reported. Disclose. Come to para 18. Major changes. Major changes, there are two changes which we have already written a note today. One is on interest and one is on dividend. Interest and dividend, we have written a note that this standard allows you to show interest paid or interest received, dividend paid and dividend received as operating activity. Whereas your Ind AS 7 has some specific requirement. In Ind AS 7, in case of other than financial entity, IAS 7 gives an option to classify interest paid and interest and dividend received as an item of operating cash flow. Ind AS 7 does not provide such an option and requires these items to be classified as item of financing activity and investing activity respectively. So this is an important difference you have to keep in mind while solving the problem. Second, dividend. IAS 7 gives an option to classify dividend paid as an item of operating activity. Ind AS 7 requires it to be classified as a part of financing activity only. Okay, so this standard is over.